Hello and welcome to Land Rover's 70th birthday, one of Britain's most iconic and innovative brands. I am Quentin Wilson.
And I'm Andy Jay, and we're at the Jaguar Land Rover Classic Works here in Coventry, the world's largest classic vehicle manufacturing, restoration and servicing facility of its kind anywhere. What better place to celebrate?
So why is it called World Land Rover Day? Well, this day, 70 years ago, exactly, the first Land Rover went to the Amsterdam Motor Show. And since then, more than 7 million Land Rovers have been built, 5.5 million just down the road here from Solihull. And I like to call the Land Rover a kind of perfect vehicle for people with adventurous hearts and curious minds. And that's why, and this is my excuse, and I'm sticking to it, that I've had Land Rovers all my life.
Now, in the last 70 years, Land Rover has gone from agricultural workhorse to become the preferred transport of royalty, adventurers, sportsmen and women, and celebrities. Land Rover has helped map the world, discover lost civilizations, cross deserts and jungles, and enabled important scientific and geographic discoveries worldwide. Thanks to long-term partnerships with organisations such as the Red Cross and the Royal Geographical Society, Land Rovers have played a key role in expeditions on every continent, braving every imaginable weather condition.
And we've got some very, very special guests here tonight who have helped shape the legend that is Land Rover. Not least one family of 7 members, the Woodalls, who collectively have 140 years of experience working at the Land Rover plant. And we've got Neil Warwood, who is one of the longest serving Land Rover employees, 48 years at the Solihull plant. That predates even the Range Rover of 1970. So I want to say to you all, thank you so much for your huge, huge contribution to Land Rover.
This evening, Land Rover is opening its doors to give you a glimpse into the past of where it all began and a look behind the scenes of life at Land Rover as we take you exclusively through the high security gates of its Design and Engineering Development Centre. So let's take a look at what's coming up on our special World Land Rover Day celebration.
We explore legendary adventurer Sir Ranulph Fiennes' love of Land Rover. We find out where the Land Rover got its good looks from, and take a look at some of the celebrations happening across the globe.
So that's what's coming up, but before that, let's take a look at how the enduring, much-loved shape of Land Rover began as a sketch in the sand on a beach in Wales. Here's the story of the evolution of Land Rover.
"70 years ago, 2 brothers stood on a beach. They drew in the wet sand the shape of a car. That car changed the shape of how people live. Then, today, and tomorrow. Born with the strength to take on all challenges. In every corner of the globe, it built a family of vehicles for all seasons, surfaces, and situations. Each one as at home in the jungle as it is in the urban jungle. No desert too dry, no mountain too high. Capability giving people the power to achieve remarkable feats. Not just any SUV, a family of game-changing SUVs, where each breaks new ground in their own individual ways. A cut above the rest. Driven by royalty, prized by presidents, celebrated by celebrities. Giving people the power to fulfill their dreams and achieve the things they never dreamt of. Brawn and brains, strength and subtlety, power, passion and panache. Pushing the boundaries, refinement that is versatile, luxury that is durable, capability with composure. Born on a beach and always, always going above and beyond.
One of the men who drew that famous silhouette in the sand decades ago was Spencer Wilkes, the managing director of Rover, and we are honoured today to have his son here, Nick. So welcome to you, Nick. So let's start at the very, very beginning with this car that dates back to 1947, because this is one of the original 3 cars that featured at that historic 1948 Land Rover Motor Show in Amsterdam. Prototype number 7. Now, this car is hugely, hugely important, not least because not long after the show, it mysteriously disappeared for 60 years and then suddenly was rediscovered in a garden just a few miles outside Solihull. It came home. How spooky is that? So what you're looking at here is the world's most historically significant Land Rover. And this may sound like I need to get out a bit more, but for me, this is a lifetime achievement, just being able to touch this thing. If only it could talk. Now, joining me is Michael Bishop, the man who has the ticklish task of overseeing the restoration of this car here at Classic Works. Now, Michael's going to tell us more about its past and, more importantly, its future. It's an incredible find, Michael, and I remember when the news broke, the internet was just fizzing with excitement with all these enthusiasts. How, and this is the dirigible-sized question, everybody, how are you going to preserve all that patina and history?
Well, certainly it was a massive surprise because one of these vehicles hadn't turned up for over 30 years this early in the Land Rover timeline. So looking back at all that history, yeah, it's very important that we get this right and we make sure that all that patina that your eye is drawn to is carefully preserved.
Because once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly, and we understand that. But what we want to do is celebrate the technology within the vehicle. There's the 3-step four-wheel drive system, which was launched but never went into full production, which is effectively like a modern, a previous day train response. And all that engineering creativity that the Wilkes installed into the brand, we want to celebrate in this vehicle.
So this is a really heavy burden for you, isn't it? But here you are, like me, a complete Land Rover junkie. So you go to work and you're surrounded by all these classic Land Rovers. I bet you're never late, are you?
Never late, but I just come and play Land Rovers.
Yeah, and what a great job. Well done. So we will be watching you. This is an institution, national heritage, absolutely look after it. And you are an expert in Land Rovers, but there are other things that you may not know about the Land Rover legend.
British-Australian travel writer Barbara Toy's first Land Rover expedition started with an idle boast in a pub and ended with one of the world's first major motoring expeditions. With an open-top Series 1 Land Rover christened Pollyanna, Toy set off from Gibraltar and drove alone through all of North Africa and the Middle East to Baghdad in Iraq. Toy followed that triumph with decades of further Land Rover expeditions, including a full circumnavigation of the world in 1958 and a world tour at the age of 81 in her original 40-year-old Series 1 Pollyanna.
Quick potted history of Land Rover. After the Amsterdam Motor Show, it became known as the Series 1. Then, after lots of improvements, in 1958, we have the Series 2. Then, more improvements, 1971, the Series 3. Then, it was called the 90 for the short wheelbase, and then the 110 for the long wheelbase. And then, in 1990, it became known as the Defender. So 68 years of continuous production. And most of those Land Rovers would appear to be here. Welcome to the biggest Land Rover toy shop in the world.
In 1970, a 20-strong team of engineers civilised the Land Rover workhorse and created the SUV. The Range Rover was born, a truly magnificent invention designed to be as good on the road as off-road. It featured a sophisticated locking centre differential and also used disc brakes for maximum stopping power. The next addition to the family was the launch of the Discovery in 1989, and the three families of Land Rover were established.
And at this point, I think I've got to make a confession. I've had 10 Range Rovers in my life as well. And I choose them quite simply because they are the most competent, capable car in the world. Full stop, end of sentence, rule off. And the Range Rover is the car that every car manufacturer in the world has copied, but they've never, ever bettered. It is the gold standard.
Still to come, we sing the praises of the unsung heroes. Chief Engineer Nick Rogers gives us a unique insight behind the scenes, and Chief Design Officer Jerry McGovern reveals his favourite vehicle.
Now, ever since the Land Rover Series 1 was launched, Land Rovers have been used for adventure and exploration. Straight after it was unveiled, Colonel LeBlanc drove a Series 1 with the original 80-inch wheelbase from the UK to Ethiopia. In the 50s, the Oxford-Cambridge Far Eastern expedition was the first ever overland journey from London to Singapore using 2 Series 1 station wagons. And we're lucky to be joined here today by some of the leaders of these expeditions, Tim Slessor and Captain Gavin Thompson. Plus, we're delighted to be joined by Bob and Joe Ives, who were the only Britons to have won the coveted Camel Trophy. We asked them about their favourite expedition memories. Let's take a look.
We called ourselves the Oxford and Cambridge Far Eastern Expedition, and 62 years ago we set out to do something that nobody had ever done before, and that was to drive from Europe to Singapore entirely by land.
I took 2 Range Rovers from Alaska to Cape Horn, a distance of 17,084 miles, and amongst the trip was a trip between the Darien Gap. It was just to show our expertise as a nation and what we can achieve.
We'd wanted to get on Camel Trophy for years.
It was hailed as the ultimate off-road adventure, and it was just something we both wanted to be part of.
There's a real authenticity to Land Rover, which makes them very special.
It's a British brand, and I think the nation has good cause to be proud of it. Good on you.
I'm sure Tim would agree that no vehicle has done more to open up the world than Land Rover, and no person has done more to explore the world than my next guest. The Guinness Book of Records calls him simply the world's greatest living explorer. Please welcome Sir Ranulph Fiennes. Sir Ran, your life has been completely immersed in Land Rovers. Just give us a flavour of how important they were to you.
Well, all the expeditions that we've done for 55 years have involved Land Rovers, not only in very difficult, hot deserts, looking for lost cities, taking us through the Sahara, up the Nile, and so on and so forth, but also in extreme cold snow conditions where we've had to eventually accept the fact that the wheels weren't enough, and so we tractor tires instead. And so we evolved them. We taught Land Rovers to swim in 12-foot waves, to do the first expedition across the English Channel, the Irish Channel, and across the Bering Straits in Alaska. That was the expedition plan. And so I think pretty much everywhere, and we have never in all that time been let down by one of them. So on the expeditions we use watches, vehicles, Land Rover.
So it would be no exaggeration to say that you, as the world's greatest living explorer, could not have explored where you have without Land Rovers.
That is totally true. It sounds as if one's just saying it, but from me, from my heart, I mean it. They are God's vehicles.
God's vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, a true great British hero, Sir Ranulph Fiennes. Thank you so much.
Towing is in the Discovery's DNA. On 3 different occasions, the Discovery family have demonstrated their towing capability by pulling trains well over 100 tons.
For more than 40 years, Land Rover has been supporting the Royal Geographical Society, enabling research, education, expeditions and fieldwork. This year marks the 10th year of the Land Rover Bursary, which provides a grant and a vehicle to fund a team of people to support the research expedition. Now, over the years, this has included the world's first mobile volcano observatory, a journey to the coldest inhabited place on the Earth, and in 2017, the Water Diaries project, led by my next guest. Please welcome Fergal O'Neilan. Hello.
Hi, Andy. How are you?
Fergal, welcome. Please tell us what the Water Diaries project is.
Okay, the Water Diaries has been a series of journeys, and I'm a geography teacher, and it's essentially my way of engaging with our most precious resource, which is water. It's taken me to Pakistan, to India, to Bolivia, and then most recently in this baby, to Jordan.
Amazing. Tell us, how has the Land Rover Bursary helped?
Well, every year the RGS give a lend of a vehicle and support for a meaningful, challenging journey. And for us, we transformed this into sort of a mobile classroom. We drove across Jordan, capturing stories and creating resources for teachers to use to engage with water. And yeah, we couldn't have done it without it.
Amazing. Why don't you tell us one of your most cherished memories?
My most cherished memories, I think, was going to Wadi Rum and just driving across this epic landscape that I'd only ever seen in films or read about in books. And as a geeky geography teacher, it's like, it's just shaped by erosional processes and all these kind of fascinating geographical things. So it was amazing to get to do that.
Great stuff. Thank you, Fergal.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Building and testing Land Rovers takes literally thousands of engineers and years, from those initial sketches on a CAD/CAM computer to prototypes tested on public roads. And Land Rover have to keep all this a secret. They have to have high security test facilities, they have to have camouflage, they have to have sometimes 24/7 guards. There are so many people who work tirelessly behind the scenes to deliver the world's most capable 4x4s, including the connected, self-driving, electrified Land Rovers of the future. And we have a little peek of what the future is going to look like.
name is Ian Lowe and I manage a team to explore and investigate materials. Some of the work we do is looking at how materials are affected with age and with time and with use. And we make sure that when the end car is delivered, it is as good as it should be.
We've got 2 off-road testing facilities and the cars were performing differently. So I was brought some mud and I was asked to analyse it and see if we could narrow down why there was a difference.
We've had to characterise mud and dust from around the world, so we have to check our materials are not affected by that type of mud.
All the technologies that we have in Land Rovers are there to make driving off-road better. So that's from terrain response, hill descent control, all the camera systems that we have in the vehicle are there to make it easier for people to drive off-road. My job is to make sure that the Land Rovers that we produce are the most capable cars that they can be. I studied mechanical engineering. My family had a Defender when I was growing up and I've always loved cars, so Land Rover seemed like the natural place to look for a job, and I love working here.
My name is Becky McLarnon and I am a human factor specialist at Jaguar Land Rover. My job role entails understanding the physical and psychological capabilities of people all around the world. I then model these in a virtual environment and we can then apply this to the development of our vehicles. Ergonomics is the science of designing for people. It's a multifaceted discipline which draws on psychology, anatomy and biomechanics. It's crucial that we understand the behavioural characteristics of people so that we can then design suitable solutions. We use virtual technology, for example motion capture, as part of a user-centred design approach. This means that we can assess vehicles very early on in the design phase when it's much easier to make any changes.
Initialising the steering. Engaging auto drive.
At the moment we're discovering what challenges there are with self-driving. Autonomy will help shape the futuring of Jaguar Land Rover because we're hoping to take away the more stressful bits of driving that you don't enjoy.
From the very first bit, from writing the code to researching about it and then actually implementing it on a car and then seeing it work is absolutely exciting.
Eventually that goes out to be tested on road. It's so fulfilling to see the car doing what you're asking it to do through the software.
I think engineers from 1948 would be amazed at what the technology today is capable of doing. They'd be slightly scared to see a machine being so much in control, but I think ultimately they'd be absolutely amazed at what we've achieved as an industry.
Another part of the Land Rover DNA is making it as easy as you can for everybody to go to impossible places to achieve impossible dreams. And Land Rover, to share that, created the Land Rover Experience to teach people the craft of off-roading. So I have with me today Mark Cameron, who is head of the Land Rover Experience, and lead instructor Ro Furby. Let me just start with you, Mark. What is it about the Land Rover Experience that is so important?
Well, of course, Land Rover stands for above and beyond, and it's so important, therefore, that we give the opportunity for our customers and our future customers to absolutely see what our vehicles can do in the most extreme places. So, over 50 years ago now, we started our first Land Rover Experience Centre here in the UK at a place called Eastnor Castle. And today we have nearly 60 of those all around the world, whether it be in the bamboo forests in China, whether it be in the mountains in Canada or by the loch in Scotland. We have something for everybody. And whether somebody wants a half-day experience, they've never been off-road before, through to the full 2-day experiences for the blue light services, the power utility companies, to understand how to winch and all those sorts of things, and everything in between. And now we have, well, millions of people have experienced those around the world.
And you even do Land Rover Experience holidays.
Absolutely. So as an extension to that, people want to spend even more time with us.
Yeah.
So we take them to wonderful places in Africa, in Namibia, to Moab, Utah, the big boulder country, and even up to Sweden in Arjeplog, where they can have some fun on the ice.
OK. Now, you're the lead instructor, Ro, and I happen to know that you taught Kate and William. So who was the best?
I couldn't possibly comment on that. But you're right, I'm based at Solihull, at the Land Rover Experience Centre there, and I have the pleasure of taking our guests around the historic jungle track. So we take out guests who turn up and they probably don't even know what to expect, maybe a little nervous. By the time they've spent some time with us in these incredible vehicles, they're filled with confidence, and they go away delighted at what they've learned. So I've been extremely lucky in my time there. I've driven all over the world with Land Rover, helped launch vehicles, and yes, as you rightly said, I was in a car with Prince William.
OK, let me put this another way then, Ro. Who makes the best off-roader, men or women?
I think that women take a very broad view.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Mark and Ro, thank you very much indeed.
When designing load spaces for its vehicles, Land Rover uses a 3D model of a dog. The model is lovingly named Sammy, after an engineer's golden retriever.
Now, just this very morning, the first car to be built on Land Rover's 70th birthday came off the line in the Halewood facility in Liverpool. Car number 7 million. Actually, 7,357,676 to be exact. Now, it's just over there, and as you can see, it's a Discovery Sport, the best-selling Land Rover. And you'll be seeing more from that in the coming months as it heads to Scotland to support a community resilience project as part of an exciting global technology programme. So watch this space.
So we start with this post-war beast of burden, this mechanically very simple thing. And then the world spins round and we get the internet, we get personal computers, we get satellite navigation, all of which are found in Land Rovers of today. So it's a kind of progression from cogs to code. But the one defining strand that stays all the way through is that incomparable spirit of adventure.
Now, the very first Land Rovers were made from aluminium, partly due to the scarcity of steel following World War II. Today, Land Rover is a world leader in the use of aluminium body construction on its large SUVs, lowering weight, offering superior strength, agility, handling, and of course, greater safety. But there have been many other Land Rover innovations over the years too. Land Rover was the first 4x4 available with anti-lock brakes, and was the first SUV to offer electronic traction control and height-adjustable air suspension, enhancing its famed go-anywhere capability. The latest models even allow you to check your electric range or fold your seats from your phone.
Or enjoy a hot stone massage on the seats, I'm not kidding. So Land Rover has pioneered a number of patented tech firsts. In 1997, we had hill descent control on the first Freelanders, and that makes going down an extreme slope really, really easy. And Land Rover's most famous piece of technology is probably terrain response. That was introduced in 2005, and that won the Queen's Award for Innovation. And it lets you adjust your vehicle to cope with literally any driving condition imaginable. Then in 2015, all-terrain progress control, and that lets you go up and down hills with your feet literally off the pedals completely. So with all this talk at the moment about autonomous cars, it's reasonable to say that Land Rover has been at the forefront of autonomous driving already for years. And the man who has helped all this happen started at Land Rover 34 years ago as an apprentice. Nick Rogers.
Nick, where exactly are we and what goes on here?
We're in Gaydon, the pioneering hub of engineering for Land Rover. And this building we're in here today is where the environmental subsystem testing is conducted. We basically conduct every test here to really make sure that Land Rovers push the boundaries of technology.
What is it exactly that you do every day?
Firstly, I'm an engineer, and I'm an engineer at heart, creating products, creating systems, and creating parts of those vehicles that are really pushing the boundaries is what I love to do every day.
April the 30th is a really important date for Land Rover. Why exactly?
Well, April the 30th is when the Land Rover, the Series 1, was first revealed in Amsterdam. The world saw what Land Rover was all about.
Now, you don't only work at Land Rover, but you own a lot of Land Rovers as well, and you very kindly brought some in today. Can you tell me about this one here? Fern, I believe she's called.
My daughter names all of the cars, and this one is called Fern because it's the light green, which the early vehicles were. It's absolutely a love to drive.
You have a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with you today. What fascinates you about that?
So this is one of the new 18 model year Range Rover. It's got a 4-cylinder gasoline engine, but also it's got an electric motor and a battery pack. And I can actually, every morning, drive from my house, which is 10 miles down the road, all the way in electric mode to here at work.
So you've had a fantastic history. What's the future looking like?
We'd like to think that we've had a fantastic 70 years, but we're just getting going. I promise you that passion in Land Rover is more than ever before, and you'll see more pioneering products. And 70 years, it's just a beginning. We're still young.
The first generation Range Rover was considered such a masterpiece of industrial design that it was the only car ever to be displayed at the world-famous Louvre in Paris.
The elegant Range Rover Velar is officially the most beautiful car in the world, as voted by the World Car of the Year judging panel just last month. Range Rover Evoque, incidentally, won the same award when it was introduced in 2012. Now, Evoque defined a new segment in the market and is admired the world over for its charm, character and distinctive design. In fact, it has gone on to become one of Land Rover's most awarded vehicles. So we went to speak to the man who is in charge of giving the most beautiful car in the world its good looks.
So my role as Chief Design Officer at Land Rover is really about visioning the future. Design is the glue that pulls everything together, and it also has the ability to enrich people's lives. And design isn't just about the aesthetic, it's about the essence of the whole product and what that means, how you use it, how it functions. Yeah, how it looks is clearly fundamentally important because that's what attracts you to it in the first place. For me, it's about creating products that truly resonate on an emotional level with our customers. People literally fall in love with our vehicles. They have an emotional attachment with them. In terms of my favourite models, past and present, I still love the original Range Rover. It changed the perception of what a luxury vehicle could be. I suppose my favourite vehicle to date probably is the Range Rover Velar because it shows a way forward in terms of the execution of its modernity, and it shows how you can take a brand and change its image completely. I work very closely with my colleagues in engineering and brand to vision the future. At the moment we are developing a whole new generation of vehicles. At Land Rover we don't do ordinary, and we never will.
And while we're on the subject of Velars, I think another confession is in order. Andy drives a Velar every day. I've just ordered one. Look, we have got it bad. So we've been celebrating great British cars, great British people, great British ingenuity. And here's something that kind of defines all this. Of all the Land Rovers ever made, it's estimated that 75% of them still survive. How good is that?
Incredible. Now, fans around the world have taken our celebrations into their own hands, organising their own Land Rover adventures to celebrate this special event, including some incredible record-breaking convoys across the globe, involving 2,000 Land Rovers in Russia, 1,000 in Australia, and 500 in France. Plus, we've been overwhelmed with your special messages. Land Rover had set out to make a birthday film, but it turns out you've made it for them.
So here are some of those birthday messages from around the world. You have been watching World Land Rover Day. Thank you and goodbye.
Happy 70th Land Rover, the only car I ever won on an adventure.
Look at this baby, 70 years old. Doesn't she look great? Happy birthday, Land Rover.
Wishing Land Rover a very happy 70th birthday.
Wishing Land Rover a happy 70th birthday.
Happy 70th birthday, Land Rover.
I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Congratulations on such a milestone.
I'd like to wish Land Rover a very happy 70th birthday.
Happy birthday, Land Rover.
Congratulations, Land Rover, on being 70 years old. And thank you for always being reliable when sometimes the British weather isn't.
Happy 70th birthday, Land Rover.
Happy 70th anniversary to Land Rover, what an incredible milestone.
To many more occasions for birthday celebration with Land Rover.
Happy birthday!
Very happy birthday, Land Rover.
Happy 70th birthday, Land Rover.
Happy birthday, Land Rover. 70 years, come on. That's amazing.